She sat there trembling, tears threatening to spill as the words hit her like a physical blow. You should probably lose a few pounds. You're too fat. Haley had spent 2 weeks texting Jeffrey, building up the courage for this moment, convincing herself that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. It wasn't. Her hands shook as she grabbed her purse, desperate to escape before she completely shattered in front of him. But what Haley didn't know was that a man at the table beside hers had heard every cruel word. And what this stranger was about to do wouldn't just save her evening, it would completely rewrite the story of her life. Before we continue, let us know in the comment section where in the world you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories reach. And if this story speaks to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Haley barely made it to the bathroom before the tears came. She locked herself in a stall, pressing her palm against her mouth to muffle the sobs. The red dress she'd been so excited about now felt like a joke. She'd spent an hour getting ready, trying on 3 different outfits before settling on this one because it made her feel beautiful. Confident, even. What a waste. Jeffrey's words played on repeat in her head, mixing with every other cruel comment she'd collected over the years. Her ex-boyfriend telling her she'd be perfect if she just lost 20 pounds. Her college roommates' pitying looks when they went out together. The dating app matches that ghosted her after seeing her full-body photos. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, ready to call an Uber and disappear from this nightmare. But she had to go back. She had to pay for her water at least, gather whatever dignity she had left, and leave. Haley took a deep breath, wiped her eyes, and walked back to the table. Jeffrey was gone. In his place sat a crumpled $15 bill and a note scrawled on a napkin. For your water. Good luck with everything. Haley stared at the money, and something inside her broke all over again. He couldn't even wait. Couldn't even pretend to have the decency to say goodbye. She was so worthless to him that he'd left her sitting alone at a table in a restaurant full of happy couples, with $15 and a dismissive note. Her vision blurred as fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. She grabbed the bill, ready to throw it at the waiter and run, when a voice beside her spoke. "Excuse me." Haley looked up to see a man standing next to her table. He was in his mid-30s, with kind eyes and an expression that wasn't pity. It was something deeper. Understanding, maybe. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "I was sitting right over there and I couldn't help but overhear what that guy said to you." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I just wanted to tell you that he's wrong. Completely wrong." Haley quickly wiped her face, mortified that a stranger had witnessed her humiliation. "It's fine, I'm fine." "You don't have to be fine," the man said. "What he did was cruel, and you didn't deserve it." He extended his hand. "I'm Ben Harris." She hesitated, then shook it. "Haley." "Listen, Haley," Ben continued, his voice warm and steady. "I know we just met, and this is probably the strangest thing anyone's asked you tonight. But I'm heading to the park with my daughter for our weekly pizza night. It's just us, some terrible jokes, and way too much pepperoni. Would you want to join us?" Haley blinked, caught completely off guard. "What?" "I know how it sounds," Ben said with a soft laugh. "Random guy inviting you for pizza. But my 8-year-old daughter Riley is waiting in the car, and she's the best chaperone you could ask for. Plus," he paused, his expression becoming more serious, "she's been going through some stuff at school. Kids giving her a hard time about her weight. And honestly, I think meeting someone like you, someone strong enough to keep going even after a night like this, might mean something to her." Haley's throat tightened. "I don't feel very strong right now." That's exactly why you are, Ben said. You're still here. You came back to this table even after what happened. That takes courage. She looked down at the crumpled $15 in her hand, then back at Ben. This stranger, who had no reason to care, but somehow did. Why are you doing this? She asked. Ben's eyes softened. Because I know what it feels like to be invisible. My wife passed away 2 years ago, and some days the loneliness makes me feel like I don't exist anymore. But then I remember that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. He smiled. So maybe tonight, we both need this. Haley felt something shift inside her. She could go home, crawl into bed, and let this night confirm every terrible thing she'd ever believed about herself. Or she could take a chance on this unexpected kindness. Okay, she said quietly. Pizza sounds good. Ben's face lit up. Yeah, that's great. Come on, Riley's going to be so excited. She's been asking me all week if we could invite someone new to pizza night. As Haley stood and followed Ben toward the door, she glanced back one last time at table 7, at the crumpled bill and the cruel note. Then she walked out of the Magnolia Bistro, leaving her humiliation behind. For the first time in hours, maybe years, she felt like she could breathe. The park was quiet except for the sound of crickets and distant laughter from a group of teenagers near the basketball courts. Ben led Haley to a picnic table under a large oak tree, where a little girl with curly brown hair and bright eyes was already waiting, swinging her legs back and forth. Daddy? Riley jumped up, then stopped when she saw Haley. Who's this? This is my new friend, Haley, Ben said, setting down 2 pizza boxes on the table. She's joining us for pizza night. That okay with you? Riley studied Haley for a moment and broke into a wide grin. Yeah, I like your dress. It's really pretty. Something warm spread through Haley's chest. Thank you, sweetheart. They sat down, and Ben opened the boxes. 1 pepperoni, 1 veggie. Fair warning, he said to Haley. Riley's going to ask you a million questions. She's basically a tiny investigator. I am not, Riley protested, then immediately turned to Haley. Do you like drawing? What's your favorite color? Do you have any pets? Haley couldn't help but smile. I love drawing, actually. I'm a graphic designer. My favorite color is purple, and I have a cat named Pepper. Purple's a good choice, Riley said seriously, taking a bite of pizza. I like yellow because it's happy. Even when you're sad, yellow makes things better. Ben caught Haley's eye and smiled. There was something about the simplicity of sitting here, eating pizza with these 2 people, that made the chaos of the evening feel distant. So, Haley, Ben said, handing her a slice. Tell us something good about your day. Before tonight went sideways. Haley thought for a moment. I finished a logo design for a client this morning. It took me 3 weeks to get it right. But when I finally nailed it, I felt like I could conquer the world. She paused. That feeling didn't last very long. Feelings don't have to last forever to be real, Ben said quietly. You did conquer something today. That guy at the restaurant, he doesn't get to erase that. Riley looked between them, sensing the weight of the conversation. Did someone say something mean to you? Haley hesitated, unsure how to explain it to a child. But Riley's eyes were so open, so sincere, that she found herself answering honestly. Yeah. Someone said something really mean about how I look. Riley's face scrunched up in anger. That's not okay. My teacher says people who say mean things are just unhappy inside. She reached across the table and patted Haley's hand. I think you're really pretty. Haley felt tears prick her eyes again, but this time they weren't from pain. Thank you, Riley. That means a lot. Ben watched the exchange, and Haley saw something flicker across his face. Grief, maybe, or recognition. He cleared his throat. Riley knows a little bit about mean comments. She's been dealing with some kids at school who haven't been very kind. Riley looked down at her pizza. They call me chubby, and they say I eat too much at lunch. Haley's heart clenched. I'm so sorry, Riley. That's not fair. My dad says they're just jealous because I'm awesome, Riley said, but her voice was smaller now. But sometimes it still hurts. It does hurt, Haley agreed. And it's okay to admit that. Your dad's right, though. You are pretty awesome. Ben leaned forward, his elbows on the table. I tell her every day that what matters isn't what other people think. It's what she thinks about herself. He glanced at Haley. I'm still learning that lesson myself, honestly. How do you do that? Haley asked. Just stop caring what people think. I don't think you ever completely stop caring, Ben said. But you learn to care more about the people who actually matter, the ones who see you for who you really are. He paused, his expression growing distant. My wife, Sarah, she used to tell me that every single day. When she got sick, I watched her lose her hair, lose weight, lose all the things society says make someone beautiful. But she never lost herself. She taught me the beauty is about showing up, being kind, being present. Everything else is just noise. Riley reached for her dad's hand. I miss Mommy. I know, baby. Me too. Ben squeezed her hand, then looked at Haley. Sarah passed away from cancer 2 years ago. Some days are harder than others, but we're figuring it out together. Haley felt a lump in her throat. I can't imagine how hard that must be. It's the kind of pain that changes you, Ben said. But it also teaches you what really matters. Life's too short to waste it on people who don't see your value. He smiled softly. That's why when I heard that guy talking to you like that, I couldn't just sit there. Sarah would have marched right over and given him a piece of her mind. I figured the least I could do was make sure you knew he was wrong. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of shared pain creating an unexpected connection. Can I tell you a secret? Riley said suddenly, looking at Haley. Of course. Sometimes I draw pictures of my mom so I don't forget what she looks like. And I draw her smiling because that's how I want to remember her. Riley pulled out a small sketchbook from her backpack. Want to see? Haley looked through the drawings, crayon sketches of a woman with kind eyes and a bright smile, always surrounded by hearts and flowers. These are beautiful, Riley. Your mom would be so proud of you. Daddy says she's always watching over us, Riley said, like a guardian angel. Ben's voice was thick with emotion. She'd love you, Haley. Sarah always had a soft spot for people who were fighting their own battles. Over the next hour, they talked about everything and nothing. Riley told elaborate stories about her classmates. Ben shared terrible dad jokes that made them both groan. And Haley found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. As the evening grew darker, Riley started to yawn. Ben checked his watch. All right, kiddo. Time to head home. Haley stood up, suddenly reluctant for the evening to end. Thank you for this, both of you. I didn't know how much I needed it. Can Haley come to pizza night again? Riley asked, looking up at her dad with pleading eyes. Ben looked at Haley, and there was something hopeful in his expression. That's up to her. but the invitation's always open. I'd really like that, Haley said, and she meant it. Ben pulled out his phone. Here, let me get your number. We do this every Tuesday. Same park, same terrible pizza. As Haley typed her number into his phone, she felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just a kind gesture from a stranger anymore. This was the beginning of something she couldn't quite name yet. I'll text you the details, Ben said, walking her to her car. Riley had already climbed into his back seat, waving through the window. Ben, Haley said, turning to face him. Why did you really invite me tonight? He was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. Because when Sarah died, I felt invisible, like I was just going through the motions of living without actually being alive. And then I started noticing other people who looked the same way, lost, alone, hurting. I couldn't save Sarah, but maybe I can remind other people that they're not invisible, that they matter. Haley's eyes filled with tears. You have no idea what tonight meant to me. Maybe I do, Ben said softly. Get home safe, Haley. I'll see you next Tuesday. As Haley drove home that night, she kept replaying the evening in her mind. Not the part with Jeffrey, that was already fading into background noise, but the part with Ben and Riley, the warmth of their acceptance, the way they'd made her feel seen. For the first time in years, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she deserved to be happy. The next Tuesday came, and Haley found herself standing in front of her mirror, second-guessing everything. What if last week was just a fluke? What if Ben regretted inviting her? What if she was reading too much into a simple act of kindness? Her phone buzzed. A text from Ben. Riley's been asking about you all day. Please tell me you're still coming. She made you a welcome sign. Haley smiled and grabbed her keys. The weeks that followed developed a rhythm she hadn't expected. Every Tuesday, pizza night at the park. Sometimes they'd take walks after eating, Riley running ahead while Ben and Haley talked about everything. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Ben told her about the early days of his marriage, how Sarah had been his college sweetheart, how losing her had felt like losing half of himself. Haley opened up too, about the years of feeling inadequate, about the string of failed relationships that had all ended the same way. I started believing I was the problem, she admitted one evening while Riley played on the swings. Like there was something fundamentally wrong with me that I needed to fix. There's nothing wrong with you, Ben said firmly. Those guys were just too shallow to see what was right in front of them. You don't have to say that. I'm not just saying it, Haley. I mean it. He turned to face her, his expression serious. You're talented, you're kind, you're funny. You light up when you talk about your work. You make my daughter laugh. You've shown up every single Tuesday, even though we're basically strangers who happen to meet on the worst night of your life. That's not someone who's broken. That's someone who's brave. Haley felt her cheeks flush. Ben. Daddy, Haley, watch me. Riley called from the top of the slide. The moment passed, but something had shifted between them. By the third month, Haley wasn't just coming for pizza night anymore. She'd stop by on weekends to help Riley with art projects. Ben would text her funny memes during the day, and she'd send him photos of Pepper doing ridiculous cat things. They fell into each other's lives so naturally that Haley sometimes forgot they'd only known each other for a few months. One Saturday afternoon, Haley was helping Riley paint in Ben's backyard when Riley asked, "Are you going to be my new mom?" Haley nearly dropped her paintbrush. What? No, sweetheart, I'm just your friend. But you make Daddy smile again, Riley said matter-of-factly. He stopped smiling after Mommy died. but now he smiles all the time when you're here. Ben walked out with lemonade just in time to hear the last part. Riley, we talked about this. Haley is our friend. But you like her, Riley insisted. Like her, I can tell. Ben's face turned red. Okay, kiddo. How about you go wash those paint hands? After Riley ran inside, an awkward silence settled between them. Ben rubbed the back of his neck. Sorry about that. She's been watching too many Disney movies. It's okay, Haley said, though her heart was racing. Kids say what they see. Ben met her eyes. Haley, He stopped, seeming to struggle with his words. These past few months have meant a lot to me. More than I expected. To me too, she said softly. But I don't want to rush anything or make you uncomfortable. You came into our lives at a really vulnerable moment, and I just want to make sure Ben, Haley interrupted gently. What are you trying to say? He took a breath. I'm trying to say that somewhere between pizza nights and terrible jokes and watching you teach my daughter that she's perfect exactly as she is, I started falling for you. And I know it's complicated, and I know we both have our baggage, but I'm falling for you too, Haley said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I have been for a while now. I just didn't think you could feel the same way about someone like me. Someone like you? Ben moved closer. Haley, you're everything. Don't you see that? She felt tears building. I'm still learning to. Then let me help you see it, he said, reaching for her hand. Every day, for as long as you'll let me. Riley's voice rang out from the kitchen window. I knew it. Daddy likes you. They both laughed, the tension breaking. Ben pulled Haley into a hug, and for the first time since that horrible night at the Magnolia Bistro, she felt completely safe. 6 months later, on a Tuesday evening at their usual spot in the park, Ben asked Riley to bring over the pizza boxes. But when she opened them, there was no pizza inside. Just a small velvet box sitting in the center. Haley's breath caught. Ben got down on one knee, Riley bouncing excitedly beside him. Haley Dawson, you walked into our lives on what should have been one of your worst nights, and somehow you turned it into the beginning of our greatest adventure. You've taught me how to live again, how to love again. You've shown Riley what strength really looks like. And you've made our Tuesday pizza nights the best part of my week. His voice wavered with emotion. Will you marry me? Haley looked at this man who had seen her at her lowest and chosen kindness. At this little girl who had taught her that love doesn't have conditions. At the life they'd built together, one Tuesday at a time. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes! Riley shrieked and threw her arms around both of them. I'm getting a mom! I'm getting a mom! Ben slipped the ring on Haley's finger and kissed her. And she realized that this was what she'd been searching for all along, not someone who loved her despite her flaws, but someone who loved her entirely, completely, exactly as she was. 3 months later, they were married in the same park where everything had begun. Riley was the flower girl, wearing a yellow dress that made her beam with happiness. As Haley walked down the aisle, no big production, just her closest friends and Ben's family watching, she thought about that night at the restaurant, about Jeffrey's cruel words and her crumpled dignity and the $15 bill left on the table. She thought about how sometimes the worst moments crack you open just enough to let the light in. Ben was waiting at the end of the aisle, his eyes filled with love and promise. When she reached him, he whispered, "You look absolutely perfect." "I feel perfect," she whispered back, and she meant it. After the ceremony, they had pizza. Of course they had pizza. Riley gave a speech about how Haley was the best mom ever, even though she wasn't technically her mom yet, which made everyone cry and laugh at the same time. As the sun set and fairy lights twinkled above them, Ben pulled Haley close. "You know what I realized?" he said. "What?" "That guy at the restaurant did us a favor. If he'd been decent, you never would have left with me. We never would have had this." Haley smiled. "I used to think I needed to change myself to deserve love. But you taught me that I was always deserving. I just needed to believe it." "And now?" Ben asked. "Now I believe it," she said, and kissed him. Riley ran up to them, her flower crown slightly crooked. "Can we do pizza night forever? Even now that you guys are married?" Ben and Haley looked at each other and laughed. "Forever," they said in unison. As the evening wore on and guests began to leave, Haley found herself standing under the oak tree where she'd first sat with Ben and Riley all those months ago. She thought about the woman she'd been then, broken, doubting, convinced she was too much and not enough all at once. That woman would never have believed this was possible. But here she was, surrounded by love, finally understanding that her worth had never been up for debate. It had always been there, waiting for her to claim it. Ben came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "That I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," Haley said, leaning back into him. "Always were," he murmured. "You just needed to find your way here." And as they stood together under the stars, Haley realized something profound. The story of her life hadn't started on that devastating night at the restaurant. It had started the moment she chose to believe she deserved better. The moment she walked out of that restaurant and into something beautiful. Sometimes the ending you deserve finds you in the most unexpected places. Sometimes it looks like a single dad and his daughter offering pizza and kindness when you need it most. Sometimes healing doesn't feel like a grand revelation. It feels like Tuesday nights in the park, like laughter over bad jokes, like someone seeing all of you and choosing to stay. Haley had spent years believing she needed to be different to be loved. But standing here now, she finally understood. She had always been enough. She had always been worthy. She had always been deserving of a love this pure, this real, this true. She just needed to believe it herself. If this story touched your heart, we'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul Story for more inspiring tales that remind us all that we're worthy of love, exactly as we are. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced rejection because you didn't fit into what society deems attractive? Drop your experience in the comment section below. And here's another question. If you were in that restaurant and overheard what happened to Haley, would you have stepped up to help her like Ben did? Let us know in the comments. Your voice could be the encouragement someone else needs today.